Part 7. It's real to me. Then why are you here? How are you in this world where you are a fairy tale character and not in your world with your husband? Because I need to. Go on. Lan Wangji dropped his head between his hands, looking totally defeated. How could he tell this stranger what the monk had told him? But he had no choice. The monk had been clear that Xiao Zhan was the one who would help him get home. I need to, our marriage. So many mistakes. How do I fix things? You're saying you're here to fix your marriage? How does that make sense? You're here, he is there. How do you fix your marriage when you aren't even in the same world? Do you even know where your husband is right now? Does he know where you are? Lan Wangji shook his head. I don't know. All I know is what the monk told me. I have to figure out my mistakes before I can go home and fix things. I will lose him forever if I don't. So, he could be here on this world. Lan Wangji stared at him as though the thought hadn't occurred to him. Yes, he whispered. How do you know I'm not Wei Wuxian? Don't I look like him? Sound like him? Act a lot like him? He can't sing. He picked the flute so he would never have to sing. He's kinder, more giving, more loving. How do you know? Do you know me that well? I'll give you the singing difference, but the rest, you can't judge me. You don't know me. I do know. Wei Wuxian would never live in so many rooms alone. He would give a hungry beggar his last piece of bread, even if he didn't know where he would get another piece of bread from. Wei Wuxian would never hesitate to risk his life to save an innocent. Have you ever risked your life to save anyone? Wei Wuxian has dedicated his life to helping others. You have dedicated your life to helping yourself. You think I don't know you only helped me because you thought I was your friend. I heard you talking to him. Lan Wangji stopped. I'm sorry, maybe I should leave now. No, Xiaozhan said, you're right. I've been a recluse these last few years. I promised that monk I would help you, so let's do this. Lan Wangji stared at him. Really? He whispered. Yes, but before we keep watching, do you know what's about to happen there? Yes. Maybe we should skip it. No, I might miss something important, and delay returning home. Just remember that what you are seeing is me, not Wei Wuxian. It isn't real. Xiao Zhan hit play. It's real to me. Lan Wangji whispered. The video restarted and Lan Wangji watched Wei Wuxian throw himself off the cliff again. He watched himself rush to catch him, heard Wei Wuxian ask him to let him go, watched silently as Wei Wuxian's brother forced them apart, and watched Wei Wuxian fall to his death. The look on his face was identical to the look on the face of Lan Wangji on the screen. It didn't matter that it wasn't real. It didn't matter that it wasn't actually Wei Wuxian. The memory was seared into his brain. He had had countless nightmares of this very scene for so many years. That dream had recently returned because Wei Wuxian had left to go wandering for 3 months, and during those 3 months the dream came back every night. How could he leave me like that? Lan Wangji whispered. He just lost his sister, Xiao Zhan said gently. He thought she was the only person left who still believed in him. Lan Wangji nodded. He knew this. He had spent decades beating himself up for not being more supportive of Wei Wuxian during that battle. But he wasn't referring to the scene they had just watched. He was thinking about Wei Wuxian walking out after 25 years to go wandering for 3 months. But Xiao Zhan didn't know about this. We should keep watching, Lan Wangji said. Most of the events they watched next were new to Lan Wangji. He wasn't present for most of them. He thoroughly enjoyed watching Wei Wuxian pretend to be the mentally ill Mo Xuanyu, and seeing their son Sijue always warmed his heart. We got it right there, Lan Wangji thought. Lan Sijue had grown up to be an exemplary man. If only he would get married and give them grandchildren. I sound like my father, he thought. But every time Lan Wangji or Wei Wuxian would ask him, Lan Sijue would tell them he liked girls. He just hadn't met the right one yet. He was much sought after because he was tall, handsome and charismatic, but he rejected all his suitors. I'll know her when I see her, he insisted. After the first 2 episodes, they agreed it was time to stop for the night. Lan Wangji went to sleep, and Xiao Zhan went to work on his script. That night Lan Wangji's dream returned, and he woke up in the middle of the night screaming. Xiao Zhan rushed over and tried to calm him down. But nothing helped. It was as if Lan Wangji was in a world of his own. He eventually calmed down on his own and they were both able to get some more sleep. The next morning, feeling guilty about some of the things he had said to Xiao Zhan, Lan Wangji cut his practice time short and made breakfast. Xiao Zhan had explained how the stove worked, and he was quite experienced at preparing meals. When he heard Xiao Zhan stir, he heated up the food, made coffee, and had breakfast on the table when Xiao Zhan walked in. Xiao Zhan grinned, "Thanks. What time do you want to watch some more?" After breakfast, they watched another episode. This one was very emotional for Lan Wangji. It showed the first meeting between him and Wei Wuxian. "Any thoughts?" Xiao Zhan asked. Lan Wangji had many thoughts, but he didn't want to share them with Xiao Zhan. Xiao Zhan read the silence correctly. He had spent hours dissecting these scenes. Both alone, and with Wang Yiba. "You were embarrassed by your own feelings, weren't you?" He looked at Lan Wangji's face as it changed color. "You still are. Why? You've been married for 25 years, raised a son. You know how normal it is to have raging hormones at that age." Lan Wangji was shaking. "Not normal," he whispered. "What do you mean?" "Silence. I'm supposed to help you. How can I help you if you won't trust me, and tell me what's going on? How can you help me when you don't trust me?" Wei Wuxian had said to him many years ago. Lan Wangji looked at Xiao Zhan. All he saw in his face was concern. But years of being bullied as a child, followed by years of snide, hate-filled, contemptuous remarks about his relationship with Wei Wuxian held him back. Most of the remarks were quietly whispered when people thought he was too far away to hear them. No one except his uncle dared to say anything to his face. He was Han Guangjun, but he heard them. "I'm here when you're ready to talk." Xiao Zhan turned off the entertainment center and went to get his script, leaving Lan Wangji to wrestle with his thoughts. "Just remember why you're here, and that I'm here to help you. Isn't that what the monk told you?" Lan Wangji sat for a long time trying to get his thoughts into some coherent semblance. Watching himself from the outside was a surreal experience. He found it both disturbing and revealing. He had never realized how cold he was to Wei Wuxian during those first encounters. He was too engrossed in controlling the urges he had every time Wei Wuxian was around, and too embarrassed over having them to try and understand them. How could he talk about these things with a stranger? But was he a stranger? "He is the only one who can help you. You need to trust him," the monk had said. The images he had been watching were Xiao Zhan, not Wei Wuxian. Xiao Zhan knew Wei Wuxian was his husband, and he never said anything negative about it. Lan Wangji sat for hours wrestling with his thoughts, and the deep shame he felt about loving another man. But the only way he was ever going to get home to the man he loved was by working through this. Difficult and painful as it was, he had to do it. He went to find Xiao Zhan.